What's up, guys, and welcome to the Spirit King's Heroic Guide. Again, this was a 10-man kill for us, and this fight actually now requires 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and then the rest need to be, or 2 healers, and the rest need to be DPS. This fight actually does change a little bit from the normal mode. The biggest difference you're going to see is the speed of flanking orders and the fact that it has 2 of them. So you have to have your tank coordinate where he's going, and you guys also have to understand that you need to be stacked on the tank at all times. You can't have 2 or 3 people taking the hit. It's just too much damage. That's really the biggest thing in this fight, is if you can get through the first boss of the 4 and you can get through that first transition, it's downhill from there for the most part. There are a couple little other tricks, but let's get right into it. Obviously, the first boss still does the Annihilate, where you have to move. He still does the Cleave, where you have to stack up. The ability that he gains is called Impervious Shield. Now, this can be dispelled. Okay, so we have a priest who, as soon as the shield comes up, he dispelled it. If you DPS while the shield is up, you will kill the raid. Think of Omnitron Defense System. You didn't want to break the shield. It's the same idea, except here you literally don't want to do any damage until that shield is down. That's just the bottom line, okay? At 30%, the next boss will activate. The other tank picks him up. The trick with this first transition, now that Blizzard has put the same boss order every time, the trick with this first transition is to make sure you don't get hit by Pillage, and to make sure that you don't get hit by Volley. With everybody stacked up for that Cleave, this is the burn phase. This is where we popped Hero to try to get through that phase as quick as possible, because once you do that, then it becomes pretty much it's a lot easier once you get through that first transition. Okay, so what you need to do is, obviously, you get the volley going, you make sure the other tank's moved, that way you don't have to worry about it. You have to burn him down before he does his rain of arrows, because everybody's stacked up. If you do not kill him before he does that first rain of arrows, you're pretty much screwed, because you don't have enough people to take the Cleave. Everybody will be pinned. It's just it's a bad time. And then also he does volley, and if you get hit by the volley, you're screwed. Once you get into just Subutai, it's pretty much the exact same as normal. You just stay spread out. You don't get hit by arrows. Keep in mind that in this phase, if you have a bop, if you have blink, if you have anything that can get you out of arrows, make sure that you're doing that. It's essential that you get this done. There is just no other way to put it. You need to get this done. It's the easiest way to do it. And the more time you can DPS the boss, the less you have to deal with this phase. Keep in mind also that for using your personal cooldowns for DPS wise, using your personal cooldowns and your potions and everything, the best time to use these is at 30% once the other boss comes up. Now, the reason I say that is because this fight is more based on being able to burst bosses down when there's 2 up, so you can get back to 1, so you only have 1 set of abilities that you really have to deal with. Obviously, the same abilities that carried over from normal mode will carry over into this mode, but just be aware of that, because it is a little confusing at certain points. The second boss does an ability, same thing as the shield in the first one, but in this one, if he's stunned, you don't get hurt. If you do hit him when he's not stunned and he's turned black like that, you will lose your gear for pretty much 30 seconds. You do 50% less everything. You pretty much are worthless at this point for 30 entire seconds. If it does happen, whatever, but you need to make sure you have a stun order put up, or you just don't DPS him during that time. Obviously, the more stuns you can get off, and the more of that duration of the time that he's stunned, the better. We had our paladin taking care of it, because it almost negated the entire thing. Third boss comes up. The key on this boss is interrupting. You will notice that if we miss an interrupt, health just plummets. There's no other way around it. Also, the Vile Shadows need to die instantly. If it spawns on you, it will pretty much 2 or 3 shot you, and it does AoE ticking damage as well, so you need to make sure that that's your #1 priority for your ranged DPS. As soon as one of those is up, the person who it's on is kiting it around the outside of the room, obviously, but you need to DPS those down instantly. Those are your #1 priority. I can't stress that to you enough. Other than that, though, this phase is the same. You interrupt. Again, same thing with his Impervious Shield. It comes with 5 stacks on this guy. So what you do is you have your, we had our Shamans purging it. So make sure that you're not DPSing until all the stacks are off, because you will just blow the raid up. And there is a little bit of bug on this one, okay? What I found out as a mage was if you cast arcane missiles, and let's say he starts that, well, even if your missile's still traveling, if it hits after that travel time after he started, it will still count as damage, and it almost killed the raid at this attempt that you'll see. But again, this is the ad thing. As soon as you see that ad spawn, you need to get away from it. I actually died on the last boss on this fight, as you'll see, because I didn't get away from the ad quick enough, and I didn't really have anywhere to go with the 2 flanking orders and the boss being right on me. I didn't want to kite that ad with the health that he had, as low health as he had, through the raid, so I just pretty much just ate it and just said, screw it, it'll die right here. That was what I had to do. It was just bad RNG. It was a little bit of bad play on my part, but you'll see that coming up. Keep in mind also that you want these things to die kind of away from where you're trying to go with the boss. Try to keep the defile pools, for a lack of a better word, somewhat together and somewhat organized so that your tanks can have the rest of the room to move around. That's extremely important during this fight. For Maddening Shout, keep in mind that dots will tick. So what we did is we had our warriors alternating Dragon's Roar with me doing Arcane Explosion. That was the ability that I told you about earlier. Remember when I said your arcane missile will proc it? That's how much damage it did, and that was 1 missile hitting. So if you get 2 hits on that by anybody in the raid, you will kill the entire raid. It's pretty much a DPS stop, and then just keeping normal abilities running. The 4th boss, again, not really a ton to worry about here. It's the same fight. Just make sure you're stacking up for maddening, making sure that you're killing those ads the second they spawn, and then making sure that you're popping everybody back up to full health. Keep interrupts on him when he's going through a spell reflection phase until you get to a certain point. You let him go through. Keep in mind that it's also when you want to pop your personal defensive cooldowns to help your healers. As you see right here, the Maddening Shout, we had the Dragon Roar and then me finishing it off. The reason we use these 2 abilities is because we didn't want to dot the raid, because they will take the damage even if they're broken out. So like Howling Blast, bad idea. Reason I say that, because it will leave Frost Fever on everybody for the duration, and the healers don't have time to dispel you. Nor the ability. It would just take too long and be too worthless at that point. So use abilities that don't carry a dot with them. That's the best I can tell you. It get a little bit sloppy here at the end, but again, this was our first kill video, so bear with us a little bit. But the biggest thing in this fight, guys, is if you can do all the normal mode mechanics, get used to the speed of the new flanking orders as well as the second one, and coordinate with your tank. Understand that using your burst DPS on phase transitions is the best time to use them so that you're down to 1 boss as soon as possible. This is the easiest way to kill this fight. Other than that, it's really not bad. Once you get into this last part, it's pretty much survive, stack for maddening, and kill little ads. That's really all you have to do. If you can get to the 4th phase, it's pretty easy. The trick is those transition phases. But if you can do all that, again, this fight really shouldn't be too bad for you. Keep in mind also, though, and this is what you'll see right here, is the ad will spawn, and I just don't notice it because I'm freaking out, is just stay relaxed. And again, you'll see me not do this very, very soon. But the biggest part on this fight is to make sure that you know when to stack up, when to spread out. Know the normal abilities backward and forward, because they will kill you instantly in heroic mode. Again, I can't preach that enough. You'll see everybody's health dropping really low. I even had to bandage here. The reason I did that is because my health was low and I knew healers had other priorities first. There's just no other way around it. We already used our battle res, so we're doing okay right here. But you'll see soon, yep, here's the ad. Now watch, 1, 2, now where am I going to move at this point? Okay, if I move left, I move the ad into the tank. Bad idea. If I went through, I probably could have blinked through and then went right. That probably would have been the smartest idea. Obviously, this is hindsight's 2020. I didn't have a whole lot of room to move, so I just pretty much stood there and ate it, giving the tank the ability to make sure everybody else was out of the way, no one else was going to get hurt, and then just, we had the boss to a certain % health at that point where our Berserk timer was not going to be affected. We ended up killing him at the Berserk timer pretty much, but we did end up getting the kill. This was just an overall fun fight. This is one of those fights that Blizzard did really, really well with. The reason I say that is because there's new mechanics, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun. Like when your tanks first are trying to figure out to call out where they're going, you will have a lot of really fun wipes. And by fun wipes, I know that's an oxymoron, but you will be laughing because there was times where our tank was like, just had no idea what was going on when we first started. Ironed out the problems, and then you get better and better as you get through each transition, when to stop DPS, when to start. But again, guys, really, really good fight by Blizzard here.